What if there was a way to fund your child's education without touching your savings? Today, we're going to break down the National Tax Credit Scholarship Program and why it's a game changer.
A landmark federal law, signed in July 2025, has introduced the first national school voucher program, fundamentally reshaping the landscape of American education funding. Scheduled to launch on January 1st, 2027, this initiative does not directly give government funds to families. Instead, it operates through a mechanism known as tax credit scholarships. This system is designed to encourage private donations to support student choice in education. The core idea is to create a new funding stream for families who wish to pursue educational options outside of their assigned public school, leveraging private contributions incentivized by significant tax breaks from the federal government, which honestly is a pretty novel approach on a national scale. The mechanics of the program are straightforward, yet represent a significant policy shift. Individuals and corporations can make financial contributions to designated nonprofit organizations, which are officially called scholarship granting organizations, or SGOs. In return for their donation, these donors receive a dollar-for-dollar tax credit from the federal government, capped at $1,700 per donor. This makes the contribution essentially free for the donor, as it directly reduces their federal tax liability. The SGOs then take these accumulated funds and distribute them as scholarships to eligible families, creating a privately managed, publicly subsidized pipeline for education funding. These scholarships offer families a remarkable degree of flexibility. The funds are not restricted solely to private school tuition, which is often the primary focus of such programs. Families can use the money for a wide array of educational expenses. This includes purchasing necessary school supplies like textbooks, uniforms, and computers. It can also cover the costs of specialized tutoring, transportation to and from school, and even room and board for students attending a residential private institution. Furthermore, the scholarships can be used to pay for specific services for students with disabilities, broadening access to tailored educational support. The program's design also opens up intriguing possibilities for public school districts, an often overlooked aspect of school choice initiatives. Public schools, or their affiliated educational foundations, could potentially register to become scholarship-granting organizations themselves. In this capacity, they could raise funds through the tax credit system to provide supplemental resources for their own students. Additionally, public schools might be able to charge scholarship-holding students for specific, non-core services, such as advanced placement courses, specialized career training programs, or intensive tutoring, creating a new and much-needed revenue stream for districts that are often financially strained. The question of who is eligible for these new federal scholarships is a critical component of the law. To qualify, a student must first be eligible to attend a public school within their state of residence, ensuring the program is tied to the public education system. The family's income is another key factor. Their household earnings must not exceed 300% of the area median income. This is a generous cap that in some high-cost metropolitan areas could include families earning close to $500,000 annually. Importantly, the program is not limited to students currently in public schools. Those already attending private institutions, and potentially even some homeschoolers, could also qualify for financial assistance. While the program offers a new source of funding, the actual scholarship amount a student receives remains a point of some ambiguity. The law clearly caps the tax credit for an individual donor at $1,700, but it does not specify a maximum scholarship amount for a single student. This leaves open the possibility that a student could receive funds from multiple donors channeled through an SGO, or even combine a federal scholarship with existing state-level aid. However, with the national average for private school tuition hovering around $13,000, a single $1,700 scholarship may only cover a fraction of the total cost for many families, leaving a substantial financial gap to be filled. The range of approved educational expenses provides families with considerable control over how they support the child's learning journey. The funds can be directed toward tuition at a participating private or parochial school, which is the most common use for such scholarships. Beyond tuition, the program allows for spending on essential educational tools, from traditional books and supplies to modern technology like laptops and educational software. The inclusion of transportation costs addresses a practical barrier that can prevent students from accessing schools outside their immediate neighborhood, while funding for specialized services ensures students with disabilities have more options for receiving the support they require. This expansion of educational choice is intended to empower families, particularly those in the middle and low-income brackets. Supporters argue that for too long, high-quality private education or specialized learning support has been accessible only to the wealthiest households. By providing a subsidy, the program aims to level the playing field, allowing parents to select the educational environment they believe is the best fit for their child's unique needs, talents, and learning style. The goal is to decouple educational opportunity from a family's zip code or income level, introducing competition and innovation into the K through 12 education sector by giving parents direct purchasing power. A pivotal feature of the National Tax Credit Scholarship Program is that its implementation is not mandatory for states. Each state government must make a conscious decision to opt in and allow its residents and schools to participate. This voluntary framework sets the stage for a patchwork of policies across the country. It is widely expected that the 21 states that already have similar state-level tax credit scholarship programs, such as Arizona, Georgia, and Florida, will move quickly to join the federal initiative. In fact, some states, like North Carolina, have already introduced legislation to do so, signaling their immediate interest in leveraging this new federal support. Conversely, states also have the right to opt out, and some have already declared their intention to do so. Shortly after the federal law was passed, the governor of New Mexico announced the state would not participate, a decision rooted in concerns over accountability and the potential for the program to siphon funds and focus away from the public school system. This divergence highlights a deep philosophical split among state leaders regarding the role of government in education and the wisdom of using public tax incentives to fund private schooling. The decision to opt in or out will likely become a major political issue in many state legislatures over the coming year. Just as states can choose whether to join, private schools retain full autonomy over their participation. No private school is required to accept students who come with these federal scholarships. They can continue to set their own admission standards and are free to reject any applicant for any reason, provided it is not discriminatory based on protected class status. This is a critical detail for families to understand. The experience in existing state programs, such as Arizona's, shows that not all private schools participate. In 2024, for example, a significant portion of Arizona's private schools chose not to be part of the state's scholarship system, limiting the options available to families. This autonomy for private schools also extends to the services they provide. Unlike public schools, private institutions are not always bound by the same federal requirements to serve students with disabilities. This has raised concerns among disability advocates, who worry that families might use a scholarship to leave a public school that is legally required to accommodate their child's needs, only to find that their chosen private school is unable or unwilling to provide the same level of support. Families will need to conduct thorough research to ensure a potential private school not only accepts the scholarship, but also has the resources and commitment to meet their child's specific educational requirements. The financial implications of this new program are substantial and a major point of contention. The enabling legislation does not include a cap on the total amount of tax credits that can be claimed nationwide. The Joint Committee on Taxation has offered a conservative estimate, projecting that the program will reduce federal tax revenue by up to $4 billion annually. However, other economic analyses suggest the cost could be far greater. The Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy has projected a potential annual cost of $51 billion, while Georgetown University's Edunomics Lab places the figure at around $28 billion, reflecting the significant uncertainty surrounding donor participation rates. These cost projections fuel a heated debate between the program's supporters and its critics. Supporters, including organizations like EdChoice and the Teach Coalition, celebrate the law as a victory for educational freedom. They argue it empowers middle and low-income families by giving them the financial means to access educational alternatives that were previously out of reach. While some in this camp wish the program was universal or offered more generous scholarships, they see it as a monumental first step. Their focus has now shifted to a state-by-state campaign to encourage widespread adoption of the program and maximize its reach. On the other side of the issue, critics voice powerful opposition. Teachers' unions and public education advocacy groups like EdTrust have condemned the program as a privatization scheme. They argue that it will inevitably divert billions of dollars away from an already underfunded public school system, harming the 90% of students who attend them. There are also deep concerns that the program will primarily benefit wealthier families who can afford to supplement the scholarship amount to cover full tuition. Furthermore, advocates for the separation of church and state object to tax dollars indirectly funding religious schools, which make up the majority of private institutions. As the 2027 start date approaches, families, educators, and policymakers must navigate this complex and controversial new reality. For families in participating states, the program represents a potential new opportunity, but one that requires careful research into school options and a clear understanding of what costs the scholarship will and will not cover. For schools, both public and private, it presents strategic choices about participation and funding. For lawmakers at the state level, the decision to opt in or out will have long-lasting consequences for their educational systems. The National Tax Credit Scholarship Program is not just a new policy. It's a fundamental test of competing visions for the future of American education.
Knowledge is power, but only if you act on it. Subscribe for more videos like this. Stay smart, stay curious. I'm Ivan D. Ray.